Pedagogy is the science of teaching and is concerned with the different philosophies and styles or methods concerned with teaching. Not bound by the traditional goals of teaching, pedagogy as a whole focuses on the entire development of a person, ranging from social, political, physical, mental, and the professional aspects of a person. Now, there have been many great teachers throughout the years. Richard Feynman comes to mind, and he is the reason and the inspiration behind this channel. Aristotle and Plato have had a very successful professional career and multiple different students who have went on to make their mark on the world. But this week, I want to tell you about Nadia Boulanger. Born on the 16th of September 1887, Nadia Boulanger was a famous French composer, conductor, and teacher who taught many of the leading composers and musicians of the 20th century. Known for a rigorous and comprehensive teaching approach, Nadia Boulanger has become an influential figure in Western classic music history. Nadia Boulanger's teaching resume is nothing short of impressive, with names ranging from Aaron Copland, Pulitzer Prize and Oscar winner, Quincy Jones, the producer behind Michael Jackson's hits like Bad and Thriller, and a 28-time Grammy winner, and Astor Piazzolla, an innovator credited with creating a completely new branch of tango called Nuevo Tango, just to name a few. But to learn something from Nadia Boulanger, we must understand who Nadia Boulanger was. Nadia Boulanger was born to French pianist Ernest Boulanger and Russian princess Raisa Michelskaya. The eldest Boulanger sister, she was later joined by Lily Boulanger 6 years later. Despite being surrounded by music by virtue of her father, at an early age, Nadia didn't take to music. However, at age 5, she ran to the piano to reproduce the notes of a fire bell and never looked back. By age 9, she joined the Paris Conservatoire and, under the tutelage of Gabriel Fauré, went on to win a lot of laurels at this place. However, tragedy struck at age 13 when her father passed away, and by age 17, she began teaching to cover the expenses for her family. Age 21, she participated in her first Prix de Rome and won the second Grand Prix for her cantata La Sirène. Age 25, she became a full-blown conductor, and at age 26, she made history by being the first woman to win the first prize at the Prix de Rome. However, tragedy struck again when, age 32, Nadia lost her talented younger sister, Lily Boulanger. At this point, Nadia threw herself into work even more, due to her remorse over the death of her talented younger sister and the need to compensate for her absence in her mother's eyes. However, due to health complications, she was forced to give up composition and focused on teaching here on out. And so we have arrived at that point in Nadia Boulanger's life in which she contributed the most effectively. She saw teaching as a privilege, pleasure, and a duty. She said about her teaching, "No one is obliged to give lessons. It poisons your heart if you give lessons and it bores you." Such was Nadia Boulanger's storied career in both composition and teaching that I believe we have a lot to learn from her. Nadia Boulanger listed 3 cardinal virtues in her students: attentiveness, desire, and memory. Nadia Boulanger said of attentiveness, "I don't know whether attentiveness can be taught. I would say that anyone who acts without paying attention to what he is doing is wasting his life. I'd go as far as to say that life is denied by lack of attention, whether it be to cleaning windows or trying to write a masterpiece." Nadia Boulanger hailed attentiveness as the key tenet, not only being a good student but to also leading a good life. Attentiveness coupled with consistency was as close as we got to a formula to creating a masterpiece. Attentiveness also acts reflexively onto the consistency, allowing us to get better with each iteration. Nadia Boulanger also appreciated the importance of this awareness in a day-to-day life, with her reminiscing about the small details and conversations that brought her immense joy, that would have been imperceptible had she not been aware and attentive to her surroundings. Nadia Boulanger described desire as a permanent sense of discovery, a longing for life that enabled people to do what they did with a feeling of love and with a feeling of abundance. In many personal anecdotes, Nadia Boulanger shares the stories of people overcoming the odds of talent and age. A great personal example of this is her own student, Bosila Wojtkiewicz, who went on to have a very successful career in composition with many pieces known worldwide, despite not touching a piano until the age of 21. Nadia Boulanger also places a huge emphasis on attentiveness and desire combining to create curiosity. She states that curiosity enables us to learn from virtually anything, allowing us to create a treasure trove even from a grave. And on desire, Nadia Boulanger said this quote: "So before encouraging anyone, you must find out whether they're capable of loving, of interesting themselves in what they're doing, whatever it may be, for its own sake. This is a fundamental distinction between people. It makes some extraordinarily active and others what I call sleepers. Let the sleepers lie. There is no point in waking them up. They are nice, happy, polite, unobjectionable as people. They are what they are." And finally, on memory, Nadia Boulanger took a stab at a non traditional definition on memory. Nadia Boulanger spoke about memory as you must store up a lot of things in memory. It's a way of having company, good company, in oneself. Everything we know by heart enriches us and helps us find ourselves. If I should get in the way of finding ourselves, it is because we have no personality. True personality is complemented by the personalities of others. Nadia Boulanger's definition focuses more so on the aspect of character building and subconscious training. We spend so much of our lives controlled by our subconscious actions and the data that we collect through our experiences. And as we all know, we are what we eat, metaphorically, and we can only generate that which we know of. As such, it is very important to ingest the right materials so as to operate on a higher subconscious level and build a base that we can lean on in times of trouble. Finally, I would like to speak about Nadia Boulanger's views on greatness and masterpieces. Nadia Boulanger's theory of teaching hinged upon giving liberty to her students. Coupled with the cardinal virtues that are necessary in a student, she believed that her role as a teacher was simply to provide them the tools for individual expression. On masterpieces, Nadia Boulanger said, "I haven't studied mathematics, but I should say that in maths, there comes a stage where you can no longer calculate, where you enter into infinity. I believe that in the same way, a masterpiece fulfills a set of conditions which we cannot measure, which escapes us, which is beyond ourselves, which ensures a balance between the means and what emerges, although the creator may not be aware of it." She further puts forth this elusivity in the following quote: "But I think a masterpiece is unconscious. I don't at all believe that Bach began his St. Matthew's Passion by saying to himself, 'Now I am going to write a masterpiece.' He tried to complete it by the set deadline to conform to the conditions of the performance, the number of musicians, and the time available. In other words, the practical factors, the pair of appropriate shoes which don't squeak or slip." And so I was very surprised when Nadia Boulanger couldn't put forth a rinse and repeat formula for creating masterpieces, given her track record. But I think this sort of nuanced take is something that adds to her greatness. A masterpiece, according to me, is something that's as close to ideal as possible. For example, a scientific theory that describes a phenomena as perfectly as possible, a self driving car that has a 0% accident rate, or a man who devotes himself entirely to the service of the public. Basically, the maximization of a role. Art in itself is in a particular predicament as it is one of the hardest to communicate things out there. Artists set out to make their piece of art with different motifs, themes, and ideas, all of which aren't entirely analyzed and captured by us. And so it's incredibly difficult for us to judge something without knowing the content, without knowing the themes, without knowing the motifs. Most of us consumers don't really do this, and for those of us that do, it's highly unlikely that all of us are correct about them. And so a large number of these influences go unaudited and lead to a certain sort of brainwashing of the masses, and that leads to an adulterated version of what greatness is, of what masterpiece is, and something that can't really be trusted. Consequently, the same goes for becoming a genius. Again, there are no formulas provided by Nadia Boulanger. While this was frustrating to see, it sort of makes sense. What is our definition of greatness? Is it a man with $1 billion? Is it a man who has slaved his whole life under a particular company? Is it a man who gives all of his money to charity? Is person A, who is the son of a farmer who has 10 times his parents' farm's worth over his lifetime, less great than person B, who has a net worth of 500 billion and works proactively to improving the state of the world around him? I think Nadia Boulanger said it best. It is always necessary to be yourself. That is the mark of a genius itself. For multiple different people, so few of them are aware of who they are and what is inside of them. And of the few that are aware, even fewer can express effectively to multiple people who they are and what is inside of them. So I believe Nadia Boulanger really takes the cake with her crux of the philosophy of teaching, which involves finding yourself between the rules. And that's where you become a genius. I would like to leave you with a quote from Nadia that I liked a lot, and it goes something like this: I have worked hard, but I haven't done everything. It's not until one tries to approach that all that one can have an inner joy in the face of all sadness and grief. I think it's an extremely profound quote, and I truly implore you to see what you think of it and apply it in your life. Thank you.